Hi, Naomi.
Hi, Natalie.
Hey, big hugs.
Big hugs.
Welcome, welcome. Tell us where in the world you are right now.
I am on Maui.
Ooh.
Oh, ow. It's gorgeous.
Awesome. How's your day going?
So good.
Cool.
Getting ready to go out to Hana. So it's like going to the country on Maui. There's like very few people out there. You have to drive 3 hours to go to the grocery store. So
Cool.
It's like super far away. So I'm getting ready for that.
How long will you be out there?
For a month.
Wow. Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
Welcome all the people showing up. It's so good to see you. And thanks for showing up. And oh my God, look at you sparkling, Naomi.
I'm like, I thought I would go with sparkles today.
I love them. Rainbow sparkles. Cool. So we're gathered here today to hang out, to talk, to share, and to answer any questions that anyone listening might have in general about anything they heard about in the episodes that we've had with Naomi, because she's been on one Dream Freedom Beauty episode, 2 Earth Speak episodes, and 1 Self-Care Club episode. So if you've been in this game for a while, people, you've probably heard from Naomi a lot now, and I'm sure that you
Hi,
have.
Super Witch.
Hi, Super Witch. You probably have insights, questions, answers, or maybe experiences you want to share from taking what you heard from Naomi and putting it to practice. And we're also going to be answering any questions you have about the Inner Alchemy course to help you move through resistance in your life, that stuff that shows up when you're feeling like something's a yes, but you're getting a funky no feeling, and you're not sure if you're getting a true yes or a true no, and how to move through that. So, and of course, resistance and all that shows up in so many ways, but I guess that's my way of summing it up. So you want to add anything to that intro, Naomi?
That's it. You nailed it.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome, folks. Does anyone, I guess let's start it. Let's just ask, does anyone have a question? Does anyone have a question or a share about anything? Just type it in the comment box and we'll be able to see it and talk about it. And while we're waiting for that, something I really loved about our episode where we're driving out of San Francisco into the forest and the mountains, Naomi, is where you shared a noticing practice, and you shared about taking even words like anger are judgments that kind of keep us locked in a limited box of like, I'm angry about something. And while that could be true, it kind of holds you in the pattern. It's like a holding pattern of anger. Mm-hmm. And the way to move past that, like you can recognize, yes, I'm angry. And then you can go a layer deeper and start to open doors to how to move that energy in authentic ways. Yeah. Is to start noticing the sensations beneath that anger. Yes. And I'm curious to hear, what have you been noticing in your life, and maybe what judgment words are attached to those noticings? What's been showing up for you lately?
Yeah, thank you for that. I notice lately, there's something I want to say maybe in front of that, that there's a beauty in being able to name our emotional experience. Like I'm angry, or I'm sad, or I'm hurt, or I'm in pain. Like that's one of the steps. Mm-hmm. And then this is the next step underneath that. So just as you said, when we feel anger, when we feel sadness, there's also a sensation that's happening in our body. There's something that is deeper than just the judgment or the, because, anger, there's a judgment. What's beneath that sensation? And mm-hmm. So there's nothing wrong with saying you're angry. So I just want to clarify, because sometimes people are like, well, what are you noticing underneath? Like we can start to do that funny thing where it gets a little murky. So it's, again, not that we're saying don't feel don't name it as anger. And then the next step is to say, okay, what am I noticing? What's happening in my body? What are the sensations that are moving through my body right now? And so we take it, what's the first layer of anger, and then we come underneath that. We notice what's happening with our breath. Mm-hmm. What's happening with our belly? what are the sensations moving through your body? So right
Mm-hmm.
now I'm noticing, I just did a shamanic colonic. And to give you TMI, and I had to eat something afterwards, and where I'm staying there isn't a great kitchen, and so I went out to eat, and so I ate like wheat, which I don't usually eat gluten. So I'm noticing my body's kind of like vibrating because I just did this like water wash, and then I'm like, I kind of ate something that's not necessarily my body's full happy place, but it's what's
Mm-hmm.
accessible here. So I'm noticing this really intense vibration. So I could also call that anxiety, right? Or I could
Yes.
call that something else, but actually I'm not anxious. My body's just experiencing a vibration. And that vibration, if I just let it be what it is, it doesn't stay. So sometimes if we were to say I'm angry or I'm sad or I have anxiety, it locks us. It keeps us stuck in that. And
We
so
can
then
get fixated on it and
fixated.
start noticing our anxiety and like actually like snowballing it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So White Sage Tarot, hi beauty. Can you talk about the soma experience? So somatic is body. And so what I really notice in my work is that we're very disconnected from our somatic experience. Our mind and our bodies are often having two separate experiences in the world. And so when we're dropping into the somatic experience, this is where we're coming out of the judgment of the mind saying, this is anxiety, this is sadness, this is pain, this is hurt, this is depression. And we're just coming to what's physically happening in the body. And then we come into it from a sensory language. So the language is quality of sensation. So I'm noticing kind of effervescent bubbles moving. My heart feels like it's fluttering. I feel the upward energy, the energy moving upward. I'm noticing a quietness. I'm noticing a little density around my neck. So that's all very different than what somebody may say, like I'm angry or I have anxiety or I'm hurt. It's like we're just coming to the sensation, and then there's something that's happening when we're having these emotional experiences that we need to get underneath them and give those places that are having the experience a way to move. And when we say I'm angry, we lock it in place, like we were saying earlier. When we say, oh, my heart is fluttering, we give it spaciousness.
I wanna just kind of add something. I just
Please.
realized because you were saying like it's not bad. Like there's no shame in saying I'm angry. Like that's the first step.
Mm-hmm.
And there's almost a shadow side and a light side of saying the judgment word of I'm angry. The light side is like, okay, you've become aware of your experience, and it now becomes a portal inwards to go deeper and to work with this energy. But then the shadow side could be you get fixated on it and stuck in it.
Yeah.
And so I just had that awareness and wanted to share that.
You know, I like this metaphor. Let's see if I can do it. So it would be like if we were hanging out and I was like, Natalie, you look pissed, but you're not pissed at all, right? And you're
Right.
like, but I'm not. Why are you telling me how I am? I'm not that way. And so we are doing that with ourselves, right? Like maybe the experience in the body. I had this client, it was a really cool experience. She came and she was like, I'm so anxious. I have severe anxiety. And then when we did the practices, and she's a very wise being, you know, she like has her work in the world that's quite deep and profound. And so then when we did the practices, all of a sudden I was like, what's underneath that? What are the qualities of the sensation that you're experiencing? And then at the end, she was like, oh my God, I'm actually just excited. She was like, I thought it was anxiety, but it's actually this effervescent, moving energy coming from my heart up and out, which is very different than anxiety. And so it's really nice when we don't put something on ourselves and get stuck in that. Or just like we don't want to put something on someone else because no one likes to be told how they feel.
Right.
Or how
You're
they
projecting
are.
on yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super Witch says, something helpful for me is to announce I feel a certain ways instead of saying that I am that emotion. I love that.
Yeah. We are not our emotions. Rather, emotions are energy in motion.
Literally from Latin,
To
ex.
emote.
Yeah. Emote.
And so
Moving out.
exactly. So if we can build a practice where we're able to speak to that in a way that allows it to be energy in motion, where when we say I'm angry or I am this, it creates a limitation. And that limitation is a block for that energy to move. When we notice it, it's different. It allows spaciousness for it to move.
And noticing to you means name the sensations beneath it.
Naming the sensations underneath. And noticing comes from a place that is not judgmental. So let's say you and I were hanging out and I was like, Natalie, I'm noticing I'm having like heart palpitations while you're talking. What are you noticing? It's very different than like, I have anxiety while you're talking. You know, it leaves more spaciousness
Really
for
does.
everybody to be curious rather than speaking to the fact.
Curiosity
Yes.
is so powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Does anyone have any questions? Questions about it?
Questions.
Come on. I'll share an experience of my noticing recently because I'm a huge introvert. I don't know if this comes across because I share on a podcast, you know, like I have a podcast and do things and like, but actually I'm a huge introvert. I am very private. And so a friend of mine invited me to be on her show, which I actually really love being interviewed. It's fun. It's really fun. And it's scary though, because right before I was like, felt like I wanted to throw up. You know, I was like anxious in my, I'm going to name the judgment words. I was anxious, nervous. I felt like I was going to get sick. I just wanted to like run away. But then as soon as we got started, of course, it ended. I just got in the flow and it was just fun. And it was just like flow. And then afterwards, I noticed my experience beforehand. I didn't notice in the moment. I did practice noticing in the moment, but it was after the interview that I really got to notice, oh, those sensations I was experiencing right before the interview were actually, the sensations were like an agitation in my gut and a like vibratory experience all over my body and like movement. And that is something that I know is one of my signs and signals that stuff wants to be channeled through me. And if I don't pay attention to it, it just gets labeled as anxiety and I like miss the message. I like miss the call.
Yeah, exactly.
And when I notice it, it turns into a really beautiful, powerful experience. And so that was just a fun noticing that I had in a very real life experience.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It creates the opportunity. It's like a missed opportunity. When we create limitations, it creates, a block, as Marianne Williams, the Course of Miracles lady. She says, like, if you create a limitation, it actually blocks the miracles from coming through.
Oh, wow.
And so even if, no matter what our limitation is, and so I think that also, like, that's a beautiful opportunity if you, by allowing it to come through, the magic of the message can be channeled and shared.
Yeah. And the sensation field changes too. The sensation changes.
Yeah. Oftentimes, if a client is on the table and, we're checking in and they say like, oh, I have some pain. Oops, the chickens are going inside the house. Chickie. If they say, no, it's okay. She's just gonna go. She'll start meowing soon because she's eating cat food. So if a client is like, oh, I have pain here, the pain is a very broad term. There's all types of pain. There's dull, there's sharp, there's moving, there's still, there's wide, there's small, right? There's all types of ways that we could describe pain. So what we do is we start to find the descriptive adjectives and adverbs or whatever to find a way to describe the sensation, because then once they start listening to what it is that the sensation is, we actually move beyond it being pain.
Yeah.
And sometimes that in and of itself will transform chronic pain.
Magic. Wow. Isn't it interesting how putting your awareness on things changes them?
Yes.
And how we are basically like, I feel like I'm constantly learning how to better focus my awareness. And I'm also learning what possibilities there are in being aware and noticing what happens when I put my awareness here, what happens if I put my awareness there, what are the consequences, what's the effects, and noticing the information of the experience that comes back. And almost like awareness is like the vessel for learning how to be a human.
Absolutely. Where our attention goes, energy flows.
Right. Hey, are there any questions? So we're hanging out here. If you're just joining us, I'm here with Naomi
Stable
Love.
spot here.
You what?
Trying to find a stable spot for my phone so I'm not all wiggly.
I know. Your arm getting
I'm
tired.
like, yeah.
So if you're just joining, I'm here with Naomi Love, who you've probably heard on the podcast or elsewhere, or maybe you follow Naomi on her own offerings. And we are just talking about resistance, self-sabotage, and just noticing and awareness and intuition. And if you have any questions about anything or any questions about our Inner Alchemy course, go ahead, throw them in the comments. Or if you have a share or a story or an insight you want to share, throw them in the comments and we'll bring them up. And yeah, so we've been talking about noticing and how judgment words like anger are helpful as beginning to bring awareness to your personal experience. But then there's a next step of noticing the sensation beneath them. And I'm wondering if anyone listening has experiences with that themselves. Ooh, here's a good question from Super Witch. How can we sharpen our discernment between that clear yes and clear no while considering the nervous system and brain wiring and how those things interact? I love that question. Wow.
Do you want to start, Natalie?
Okay, I'm going to just say here, first of all, I'm going to kind of re-speak the question as how I understand it. Because I hear Super Witch asking, how do you know what's a true yes versus wishful thinking versus what's a true no versus resistance and fear? Because we all come to the present moment with the way that our nervous system is wired to react to things. Maybe something that is a true yes and is safe for us in reality is actually linked to a traumatic experience in our past that makes us think it's not safe. And so we get resistance and we get a no, even though it's a true yes. And so does that make sense, Naomi?
Yep.
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
Okay, thanks. So my personal method for this is having an ongoing practice of calibrating to what's my true energy and being able to just be at a set point. I have my own personal practices of being at a set point of grounding and clearing. And so I can feel in that space a sense of neutrality and clearness and flow. I'm not stuck in a wishful thinking. I'm not stuck in resistance. I'm just present. And from there, I actually will calibrate what is my yes and what is my no. I'll ask myself, there's a standing thing I like to do, which we're not going to get into here, but I do it in like our collective. I've taught our students this and they love it. And they use it for the funniest things. But it's like kinesiology, right? Like you can test for yes or no. using all these different kinesiology methods that involve your body, because your body is not your mind, and your body has greater access to the deeper truth of your yes and your no beneath the imprinting of your mind. But then I also, for this, how do I tell a true yes from a true no? For me, a true yes feels light, and I'm going to go to sensations here because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about sensations and naming sensations and noticing them. And for me, a true yes feels like a lightness and an expansiveness, but wishful thinking can have that kind of lightness and expansiveness and maybe a buzzy energy, but it also has what I call sticky fingers, where it's like I'm like needing something. It's like I might have a yes come up for something, but it's like I feel like my heart has sticky fingers, and it's like grasping and clinging. It's like, yes, I need that. Yes, I need that. And that for me is not a true yes. That for me says that there's interference going on in my nervous system or in my beliefs and my patterning, that reaction right then and there, that reaction of me having the uplifted, expanded, and graspy, clingy feeling means that, okay, I can use that sensation alone. That's it. I don't need to know any story. I can use that sensation alone as a portal into what is that behind there. I can use that as a sensation into what's hanging out in my nervous system or in my patterns and work with that to clear that and then retest.
Mm-hmm.
So Super Witch says hunger, sort of. Ooh, I feel that. Yes, it can be like a hunger, like a clinging, a grasping, like a yes, like I need that in order to be safe.
Oops.
And it comes in so many different flavors, but that's the kind of basic flavor that I've experienced over and over again in a true yes versus a wishful thinking yes.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really cool about that is like when you get that sort of wishful thinking, that doesn't mean like, oh, darn, you're done, like the answer's done. That means no, that's your portal inward to go deeper and uncover more stuff that's happening there to lead you to your true yes or no.
Mm-hmm. And the wishful thinking, from my experience, also has a forward momentum to it. Like it's coming, there's a leaning forward inside the body, where for me, when I'm in my inner navigational system and I'm in that center point that we talked about, true north, when I'm in that place, it's a leaning back. And so the wishful thinking is oftentimes a forward momentum because we're projecting into the future, a desire. And that desire has a different quality of feeling than the presence does.
Describe that quality of feeling.
Sorry, I was reading what she was writing. Remind me what I just said, if you remember.
You said that it has like a leaning forward, and
so
you were going.
If you're in the wishful thinking, so just even for those of us who are here, we can take a moment and close our eyes and like, what's something that you desire that you want in your life? And like feel into that. And when I feel into that, literally even to do that, I have to lean forward a little bit, like energetically. I'm in I'm in my mind a little bit, and I'm leaning forward and I'm leaning up because I'm in like vision. And so then when I check in with the rest of my body, my feet might not feel as much sensation. And there may be more energy in the head than in the rest of the body.
And that's how you experience your wishful thinking versus a true yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I just love that.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have is able to discern their wishful thinking versus a true yes? Do you feel that grasping or that leaning forward or in your head or like that? Anyone listening and comment here for it. And Super Witch says, like a receiving. She said, wow, this is fantastic. Thanks. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that I think it gets easier to discern over time, like just by practicing it. Noticing what you're choosing, noticing your sensations, first of all. I'm going to take a step back. Noticing the sensations that you're experiencing in your yes or no, or like trying to navigate a decision, and then making a conscious choice based on your decision, based on your sensations. And then noticing what happens afterwards. Like just being conscious every step of the way through how you make a choice and then noticing the consequences, that's information. You're like being a scientist of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it never ends. It's really fun. I think it's fun. Even this is something that for me makes even the like hardest, yuckiest experiences in the looking back, it can help bring them value and healing in a way, because I get to notice information. I get to claim information and see deeper information of my own noticing going into situations. Like if I had a relationship with someone that in the end blew up, I can notice how back at the very beginning, I had that signal, I had that sign, but I chose to go forward anyways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, stuff like that.
The overriding, I actually did it in LA. The perfect example. I was at my Airbnb and I was between clients, and I was like, oh, I should go out and get some food and like go to this health food store everyone has told me about. I should do it. You know, I have a little extra time more than and I kind of was like shitting myself. Then my friend called. She's like, yeah, you should go. And I was like, yeah, I really didn't want to. I was way tired, right? Like if I really checked in, but I was like, yeah. And I was in this like forward momentum because I was just, you know, working so much and in the go mode. And so I was driving, and the whole time I was driving, I was like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go. I literally was saying it out loud even to myself. And then I saw I had to get on the highway, and I was like, oh no, I don't want to go on the highway. But I still was going because I was like, well, I emotionally kept blackmailing myself into staying, because I was like, oh, but you're already halfway there. You've already left. You're in the car, blah, blah, blah. And I get to the grocery store. I spend $1 million because it's super expensive because it's LA. And then I'm driving back, and and I do all of these little stops, take care of errands. And then I get in my first rear-ending situation. Never been in a car accident. Rear-ended a guy because LA traffic, and it was crazy. I mean, it was like minor, super minor, but it was like everything. I followed the no all the way to the end, like all the way to the end. And the whole time after, when I got back, I was like, wow, that entire trail was following a no. And
you were overriding. You were overriding.
Yep. And I kept following it. Like, nope, you shouldn't do it. I'm going to do it anyway. Going to do it anyway. And I kept overriding myself. And then it was like, wow, I followed that all the way to the end. And look at what the result was. And there's no like need. The beautiful part of the noticing practice also comes to when something like that happens, you know, when we do something and we feel crappy about ourselves for following that thing that wasn't our yes, or saying yes when we meant no, or saying no when we meant yes, or whatever. The noticing practice also comes in there, because I could have beat myself up about it. I could have been like, you didn't follow, you're
shaming and blaming and guilting yourself.
Yes, that was me cursing, but just going blah, 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 instead. Cursing to myself, right? And so I was like so bummed. And then it was like, oh yeah, instead of beating ourselves up and doing that whole process, we can actually go right into the noticing. What am I noticing? What did I learn? What came through now? How did that feel in my system? Because it's all an experiment, you know, really. And so it was a total learning in the end. And so the noticing practice is implemented in there as well. And I wanted to say to, oh, hey, it's Nikita. We talked a little bit earlier about pain in the body and the same concept being applied to it. So I just wanted to reply to that. And then Anna's breath said something. Do you want to read it, Natalie?
Where is it? She says, oh, I like that, Natalie, is all I see.
Okay, it says, how might ancestral patterns, traumas we see in ourselves be transformed for the highest good?
Oh, okay, cool. I see that now.
Just in case she rewatches.
How might ancestral patterns and traumas we see in ourselves be transformed for the highest good? That's really pertinent, because I am noticing a big one I'm literally in the middle of right now. Do you have any... I want you to go for it though, Naomi, because, you know, I'm so deep in the middle of it that I'm like,
So that's a huge question. There's like schools on this question. Just so you know, there's schools on it. Mine being one, Liv probably being another, Daniel 4 being another, on like how the ancestral patterns affect us now and the choices that we make, and how can we heal those traumas in order to be, what I hear, free, so that we're making, so what I notice from myself is that when there's an unconsciousness for me in relationship to my ancestors, then it's what is the word, disacknowledgement, like a not acknowledging of them, which I lived ignoring them for a very long time. I was not interested in my ancestors, and it's almost like because of that avoidance, it creates more power.
Mm-hmm.
Because whatever we deny takes up a lot of energy. And so if
you're talking not just ignoring, you're talking straight up
like pushing it away
and denying it, pushing it away.
Like,
okay,
I want nothing to do with my ancestors. Like, I'm good, you know? And a lot of us have had that experience, you know, due to their behaviors or life experiences or whatever. So pain that they've held. And so the beautiful thing is that we're coming into a time now where we don't have to fulfill the destiny of our ancestors anymore. That we have skipped through a time zone loop or whatever, paradigm shift, where we have the potentiality and the awareness and the greater insight to actually act from our true heart and not through like autopilot. So to me, it's like autopilot. And some of those patterns that we know that we're doing, those are the places where for me, it's keeping those hooks where the traumas from my ancestors or the pain from my ancestors or the pattern, it keeps them activated. And so the first thing that I would suggest, love, to Anna's breath, is to do an altar for the ancestors in honor of them, acknowledging them, first of all, because the art of inner alchemy can actually be transposed into working with our ancestors, working with one another, because we all want to be seen, heard, witnessed, acknowledged, and given something, and that is usually love. And so the inner alchemy, once we have it in our own body, we can then start to do it with our ancestors and the altar that we create, the helping spirits or guides. We can start doing it when we're building relationship with nature. We can start to do it with the beloveds in our life, because instead of telling them how they are, again, we're saying, how are you? What's present for you? Instead of superimposing something. So with the ancestors, my first thing would be to create an altar and to acknowledge them in honor of them. And then to begin to notice what are the patterns that you feel like you're playing out in your life that maybe are theirs. And then we do the art of inner alchemy process to figure out what those patterns need so that they can be healed. So then you can be set free.
Love it. And, if you're wondering, how the heck do you do all this? We just happen to have the Inner Alchemy course that's out now. Doors close on Wednesday, but you can go to earthspeak.love/inner alchemy and check it out. And so you're going to learn that 7-step ritual to the art of inner alchemy that Naomi is talking about. But there's also a super, super sweet bonus that Naomi has made, which is just talking about making an altar, the art and ritual of altars. And so when you sign up for Inner Alchemy now, you'll get that bonus as well. And yeah, if you're feeling a yes there, if you're feeling a yes, go check it out, Inner Alchemy on earthspeak.love. I was just thinking this morning, Anna's breath says, thank you so much, so beautiful. And I want to add to the answer too and say, like, my personal practice has been to use practices like Inner Alchemy, which y'all are about to learn if you're in the course or thinking of signing up for the course, on myself in an everyday way. Like, these are practices that we do regularly. It's not just like on a full moon. I mean, you can do it if even all you can ever get it in is like on a full moon or on a new moon or something. That's fine. Great. But these are things to actually really bring into your life, because you're going to just like imagine there's this giant knot, this giant tangle. When you just sit with this and use these practices, when the stuff comes up, you untangle little parts here, little parts there. And then one day you'll pull a thread and it just undoes the knot. The knot is untangled. And it comes from sitting with this, presencing with this stuff on a regular basis. You don't have to devote hours and hours to it every day or even do it every day, but just regularly. Mm-hmm. And also doing this yourself, giving yourself your own personal practices and space to do this will help untangle and pull up and bring awareness in you, so that when you do go to someone like a practitioner and get a session with someone, maybe their awareness and their support is enough to come in and untangle the rest of what you've been working on and help you with that. And so it takes all of it. It's not one or the other. It's not just go work with outside practitioners or only do it yourself. I find that for me, in doing these ancestral things, it's being present with them as they come up regularly and working with them, alchemizing them inside myself, and then going to practitioners I feel called to work with, whether it's people who are trained in the Daniel For's method, or whether it's, I really love neuro-linguistic programming called NLP, which works with belief patterns, and whether it's going to get Reiki or whatever you're feel called to do, your own personal practice of that inner alchemy is going to help everything else add to that.
It will absolutely deepen your experience as a client receiving, because there is also something with seeing so many thousands of clients in all my years of offering sessions where we can only receive to the depth that we're open, to the depth that we can go inside of ourselves. Nobody can take us somewhere that we can't go within ourselves. And so the art of inner alchemy practice actually is empowering to be able to go and track your own experience while you're on the table or receiving a session, because there's this thing that happens, and it bothered me so much for a while. I kind of had a little nervous breakdown many years ago, because all my clients would say, well, what did you notice? What did you get? What did you hear? What did you read? And I was like, oh my goodness. It's not about, I'm not anything special. I mean, sure, we all are, but like, I don't have the authority over you. How about we learn and teach you the tools that whatever you noticed is what's important. Mm-hmm. Whatever came up for you is important. Sure, if in the right kind of session or setting, I may give, guidance and feedback and such. That's absolutely appropriate. And I noticed how much every client after the session wanted to know what I read, what I got out of it. And what I really started to see is that how disempowering that is for them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because it's not about me and what I read. It's about you and what you experienced. And that's where the power is. That's where the depth is. That's where the healing takes place. And then I'm not given your authority, because I don't want your authority. I want you to have your authority. And by doing and learning this practice and using it in your own way, it will help you to trust your inner authority, so that we don't need to ask. Because I don't know how many of you have seen practitioners, but they'll say something to you after the session that didn't resonate for you at all. I've had it a lot as well. And I don't want somebody to put on me what they saw, because it didn't, like when I was younger, I'd be like, that's not at all what I experienced. One of my teachers was like, well, you're going to experience death after the session. And I was like, death. I was like, okay, I was having this experience where all the helping spirits were showing me all the different parts of the body that they were working on and that they supported. So when I came out of it and she said that to me, I was like, oh no, I'm off. There's something wrong with me. What did I do wrong? Why didn't I get it? Right? Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to speak to how empowering the inner alchemy practice can really be when we implement it on all sorts of ways, and all sorts of, it's a template that can be used in every aspect of our life. Oh. And then, yes, my love, the calls are recorded. And this is for the Earth Speaks program, if Natalie wants to take over and tell you about it.
Well, yeah, inner alchemy Well, we'll start with the present moment. This live will be recorded and we'll put it up somewhere. But then also, so you can check out whatever we talked about before you got here. But then also the Inner Alchemy course will be recorded and available if you can't make the live calls. And if you haven't heard of it or if you're wondering about it, the Earth Speak Collective, which is our monthly membership where we actually, it's a weekly membership, you pay per month, but we meet literally every week to sit in video face-to-face and be presenced and do ritual and have conversations and discussions and be witnessed. It's so fun. It is my happy place. And those are recorded as well. So that's the Earth Speak Collective, and those are recorded. And so yeah, all levels of everything that we do, almost everything, are recorded.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
The beauty of technology.
I know that's the best part of this new world we're in. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Does that answer your question, Wild Body Healing? Lovely. Thank you. Great. You're welcome. Thank you for asking. So are there any other questions from folks? What questions do you have, or what has your own experience of what we're talking about been, for anything? We've covered so many little tidbits here and there. I mean, each of these things we're talking about are portals into their own conversations, which I just love. Hanging out is like my favorite thing. So, and while we're waiting for that, for anyone's questions, what you were talking about, Naomi, about seeing people on the table, because you've seen like 60,000 people in your practice, and they often ask you, what do you notice? What?
I said, yes, I have.
I'm feeling it.
It's like a lot of people.
That's like a town.
It's a lot. Yeah, totally. It's a town. It's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people, and that's enough people to notice really big themes in people's responses and kind of how they're wired. And you're saying that you notice that people on the table are asking you afterwards, what did you notice? And it's kind of the same thing of like when we go to someone to get a reading, we want them to tell us about ourselves. And we want them to tell us stuff that we can't see ourselves or think we can't see. Yeah. But I'm going to preface this by saying, with all due respect, I do love a good reading. Yes, and I do love being seen in that way and receiving what other people have noticed. But I rarely go get readings, because the most important thing to me is being able to have my own inner awareness and then notice how that is expressed outwardly into the world, and being able to essentially give myself, like, be my own oracle. And to be my own reader and be able to read my own signs, like what you're saying, like, what did you notice? They ask you, what did you notice? To me, I really value noticing what I notice and how that informs my relationship with the divine and the co-creative universe we live in, and with the earth, and how that brings up awareness of my own agency in creating or destroying and co-creating with the earth and with the spirits and with the divine. And so that ultimately is why I don't go get readings, because I don't want people to just tell me what's going to happen or what I should be noticing. I only like to get readings with people who support me in bringing up my noticing and help me notice or validate some of the noticings that maybe I wasn't sure about before. Yeah. It's really a validation of my own noticing when I get a reading.
Yeah. I have a couple pieces I'd like to share in that. And Please. One of them is that it's in the same way, like when I teach about herbal medicine, or when I'm teaching about nutrition, it's not that I'm the other thing that we're saying, that we're talking about, like the judgment versus noticing. Neither of them are bad.
Right.
We just want to back it up for a second and make sure that we're getting to the root. And when we're in the judgment, we're not in the root. So we just want to make sure that we've like backed it up so we get to the root. In the same way, like going to an astrologer or going to a reader, there's nothing wrong with that. And it can be very disempowering if we don't have the skill set behind it to be able to alchemize what's being shared. And then what often happens is we want to project blame because we went and had that reading and they said, you're going to be famous by the time you're 27, and then you're 28 and you're like, what the? I'm not famous yet. They said, you know, like it can be disempowering in that way. So if we don't have these, like this back skill set, this foundation, and then we're missing something. In the same way that as a nutritional therapist, I don't tell people what to eat. Rather, there's a place and time for that, for sure. Be vegan, be paleo, do this, do that. I don't tell people to do anything. Rather, I get them to connect to what their body desires and be able to listen to that. And then from there, we start to use, let's say, symptoms and or experiences or noticings as information to make different changes with the food. And the same with herbal medicine. I love herbal medicine. I've been studying it my entire life. And I still don't like to tell people what plants are for. I want you to have, yes, I want you to have that relationship with the plant. And I don't want to discount what you got. I want to support you in trusting yourself enough that when you hear the message of the plant, that you've got that quality of connection to that plant and it is in your heart. And then maybe we go and read about it. Same with an animal helping spirit, right? People will be like, well, what is the turtle for? Well, what does it represent for you? Because it represents something totally different for me. And I don't want to disempower you, because there's something that happens, you know, I was rewriting my bio, like it's like 3,000 pages long. And
wait, is that a book I hear?
It's like a book. It's like the memoirs of just my education, though, not even like personal story too much in it. It's kind of ridiculous. But I was just editing it and I like to tell the story of the journey and how each thing led me to the next thing and how that thing led me to this and taught me that. And as I was doing so, I was like, wow, when I was younger, I actually had like quite a good, let's say, head on my shoulders and understanding of things. And then I continued to study. And part of me wondered, as I'm older now, how much I studied that overrode what I already knew to be true.
Yes. 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 I mean, we are societally conditioned for our mind to take precedence over our intuition and our body and our hearts speaking to us. And that those methods, our intuition, our body, and our hearts, are also how the earth speaks to us. And we've just been conditioned for that to be overridden by our mind. And that is, I think, the root cause of so many issues that we experience as individuals and a collective.
And that is exactly why inner alchemy came through me from the Wisdom Council as a process, because it's a foundational step that reminds you to be you and how to listen to you, your heart, your connection to God, to Goddess, to Spirit, to Earth, to Self, to helping spirits, to ancestors, without any indoctrination. It's neutral, and it's all you, right? The steps are you. The steps are just the questions. And the questions have all sorts of potentiality. And the more that we can understand and reorient ourselves collectively within our own selves, the more that we can reorient ourselves so that that inner navigational system, true north, is true nature, then we are able to meet the world from a different place. Then we're able to go and receive the reading without it disempowering us. We know ourselves enough.
Or you give yourself a reading.
Yeah, exactly.
Beneath the reading.
Yeah. Oh my God, the more I've been like into human design recently, everything I've been reading, I'm like, you know what's so cool about getting older is like every single thing that it talked about, I've tracked in myself. Yeah. And I was like, that is so cool. That's so cool. You know, it's not disempowering. It's saying, oh yeah, amen. It's a pattern that I've been seeing, and I got it.
Oh my God, that's a whole nother conversation, because human design was really validating for what I had tracked and also had like confusion and felt invalidated for. I had tracked all these things and felt totally invalidated, but we'll have to have a whole, that's like a whole wormhole. That's a wormhole.
That's another thing. Yeah.
And this is not the app here with this light. Woo, this is the actual
I love
light
it.
of the divine. Yeah, Wild Body Healing says human design is a great tool, and Super Witch says same about HD. Yeah, it's a great tool. If you're listening and you haven't checked it out, it's definitely a wormhole and a little weird at first if you're not used to it, but there's a lot of good resources on the internet now, and I'm sure you can find some. Wow, what kind of questions does anyone have? There's like, we've been hanging out. I feel like we've just done a whole podcast interview. This is so fun.
I think we did. And it's all, and everything that we're talking about, we will go deeper into in the classes with specific practices. And
Cool.
The way that I work is very much, I don't have an agenda. We definitely have an outline for the class. I don't have an agenda. Rather, I go into the channel and connection with all of you who join in. And from there, we just see where we want to go. And I very much thrive with interaction. My human design says I'm a reactive artist. So I do better when there's like people and engagement as my gift to share. So I can't wait to be with you all there. I'm super excited. And I get to be in Hana while we're doing it. And I'm going to be in this little hut in the middle of the jungle, just me, the jungle, y'all, and the ocean. And literally there's nothing between me and Mexico except for water.
Wow.
So it's going to be really amazing.
Yes, and you get to root into and help bring that energy of Hawaii and Hana into the space. I'm very excited. Wow. And if you're just getting here, we have been talking, we've had just a really fun call talking about here on Instagram Live, inner resistance, how to tell wishful thinking from a true yes versus a true no, and resistance and doubts and fears. We've been talking about how to discern those things. We've been talking about what do you do with the resistance. We've been talking about noticing practices and how to move past judgments that keep us stuck and fixated and holding patterns of like blocks and fears, and how to move through that and past that. And if you're interested in all this stuff and you want to learn this for yourself and you want to give yourself like an intuition tune-up, really, come join the Inner Alchemy course. Naomi Love is teaching it. I'll be there too. And we're doing it through Earthspeak. It's at earthspeak.love/inneralchemy. The doors close on Wednesday to join it live. And I really, really, really want to say, come join it live. There will be recordings. The calls will be recorded. So if you sign up now, but you can't make the live call, you can email us your questions and comments and we'll address them. And you'll get support and you'll get the recordings. And also, there's some awesome bonuses. I really love these bonuses. There is, first of all, 1 month free in the Earthspeak Collective, which if you've been curious but hesitant, you can try it out for a month free. Come see what we're doing and hang out. Get the weekly ritual, get the experience. It is powerful. And you can also get the free bonus of the art and ritual of making an altar taught by Naomi. It's an instant access. It's a video that you get to check out, and it's a little mini course. So when you sign up for Inner Alchemy, you get that right away. And you also get an interview from, Naomi did this amazing Wise Womb Symposium, and you get the interview from that called Our Bodies Never Lie, which talks about this stuff and brings in another expert who's talking about this as well to share even more details and perspectives. And you also get, wow, another bonus. I'm just still talking about the bonuses here. You get an audio masterclass with Naomi called Coming Home to Your True Essence. So you get all those when you sign up. They're instant bonuses. And also you get the 3 live calls where we're going to do 2 rituals. You're going to be teaching. We're going to do the Inner Alchemy ritual, which you're going to learn. You're going to learn about a true nature ritual that you can use to calibrate and tune up your intuition awareness as well. There's so much. It's going to be great. earthspeak.love/inneralchemy. And even if you don't join, I hope that you got value from just hanging out, listening here today, and getting some sort of awareness for yourself on how to discern between all these subtle things happening within you and what to do with them. I mean, ultimately, that's what we're here for, to help you with that. So, yeah. Any other questions out there? And anything you want to add, Naomi?
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you. I'm so excited. And I feel, again, I'll just share it again, the importance that I've seen from working with thousands and thousands of people and traveling the world and having my hands on thousands of bodies and teaching students around the world, these are the foundational keys that keep us, from what I'm seeing, that keep us caught in the loops that we get caught in our relationships and our choices and our behaviors and our actions and the way that we think about the world and the way that we relate to others, the way that we relate to ourselves. And so the potency of understanding for me, when I learned what resistance was, I was like, oh my goodness, if I had learned that, it's what that was this whole time. And now I can see it, and it doesn't always mean we're going to do something about it. I also want you to know that sometimes we're just like, okay, there's resistance. I'm not going to eat food even though I'm hungry. You know, like we don't have to, but we start to understand what it is. And so it brings a somatic experience of noticing. And
somatic means the body.
Soma means the body, with a cognitive mind understanding. Because what I notice is like the body is very wise, but when the mind doesn't know, it's like same in nutrition. If you come to me for nutritional counseling and you don't know anything about nutrition, we're going to have to teach some foundational pieces of just general things that are healthy, things that maybe aren't so healthy. There's got to be a little foundation, but then from there we can start to connect to our intuition around eating, right? And food. So we need to have that, but the mind,
like a recalibration. You call it a reorientation a lot too.
Yeah,
got to get oriented.
We got to get oriented and educated. So the mind is getting educated through this practice so that we can track the pattern, so that when we see it in manifestation in our lives and inside of ourselves, we can do something with it. We can meet it. We can touch it. We can give it what it needs, so that it can maybe be set free potentially. Is the goal, if there were a goal.
So much of what we've been talking about is really learning about tracking the awareness of your body and your intuition, and understanding how that can be useful to make decisions and take actions and navigate your life. Because that's, for me, kind of like, in a nutshell, the core of everything, of everyday life. Tracking your awareness and understanding how that informs the actions and decisions that you go on every day, every moment. The rooster's like, oh, yeah. Love that. Wow. Well, this was awesome. Yeah, this was really fun. I think, this is our first real Instagram Live. We did a little test just to make sure we knew how to use the technology last week, but this was so super fun. And I loved just getting to hang out and getting to know that there's people here joining us live and just bringing their questions and their awareness and their energy, and we get to reflect off of that and channel and just be here in that presence and have fun. I mean, this is really cool. So thank you everyone for showing up, and if you're listening to the recording, thank you for listening to the recording. Feel free to reach out to us with your questions, and you can I'm cool with DMs. Are you cool with DMs?
Yep.
Naomi's cool with DMs or emails, or just go to my contact page, earthspeak.love, or go to Naomi's contact page. Which website would you like to send people to? Where can people find you?
Wise Womb Medicine Path.
Wise Womb Medicine Path, y'all.
Wise Womb Medicine Path, babies. Yay!
Yeah, go check it out. Yay! Wild Body Healing says, join the tribe. Can't wait. Yay! Thank you. We're so excited to see you. Awesome. Yay!
Thank you all, everyone, for your questions. I love questions, so keep them coming. Really nice to be here with all of you. Thank you, Super Witch.
Thank you.
I'm excited to see your face in the class, hopefully.
Oh my gosh, this was so fun. Yay! Well, thank you. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you, everyone else. And you can check out Inner Alchemy, earthspeak.love/Inner Alchemy. Doors close Wednesday, October 30th. Get it.
Love you all. Mwah.
Love you all. Bye.